That's Mr. KJ Noons coughing in the background. We just connected him. He's our next guest. Excellent interview with Mike Dolce we just had. On to the next one. Mr. Noons, how you doing today?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good. How you feeling over there, man? I hear some coughing going on. What's going on with you?
Oh, just actually getting over the flu last week, so got a little workout in today and feeling a little bit better day by day.
That flu sucks, doesn't it, man?
Oh man, really, really nasty. Yeah, nasty stuff. I'm glad I'm up and moving, and I got a light workout today, so I'm feeling a little bit better.
Okay, good to hear. I was going to actually, when we connected you, I was going to introduce you as UFC lightweight fighter KJ Noons, but you kind of introduced yourself quick. I want to know, what's it feel like to finally fight for the Ultimate Fighting Championship? You have your first scheduled bout against Donald Cerrone coming up, and what's all that mean to you?
Yeah, I'm just really excited. I've been to a lot of the other organizations, and it's kind of come all full circle. So I'm really excited to get in there and compete against some of the great talent in the organization, and love the energy, the way it's run, and everything about UFC. So it's gonna be fun, man. I'm really excited. I can't wait.
Okay. Is it encouraging for you as a guy coming from Strikeforce to see the success of the other Strikeforce fighters that have made their debuts prior to you?
Yeah, definitely. I think the casual fan, probably didn't know that there's, other great fighters in other organizations that are, ranked pretty high and can compete at the top level. So if anything, that probably makes the casual fan know that there's some really good fighters in other organizations that can compete with people in the top promotion, So other than that, yeah, it's a good little streak going from the guys over at Strikeforce, and yeah, I'm excited to get in there.
Excellent. Was there ever any hesitation for you to make your UFC debut against a guy like Donald Cerrone, who is so highly touted in his own right and possesses so many problems to many fighters in the organization? Or were you just excited to go ahead and start at the top of the division and put your stamp in there right away?
I'll fight anybody. I think it just shows that the top guys in Strikeforce can compete with the top guys over at UFC. So I think he's a good fighter, and I think stylistically it matches up well against me, and yeah, I'm excited.
Okay. What about let's touch on your last fight real quick against Couture. I can go on record, and I'm comfortable with saying that I thought you won that fight. I think many people thought you won that fight. Is it a hard pill to swallow for you? I'm sure you thought you won that fight. Just give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I feel like I won the fight, but you can't leave it in the judge's hands. Even Dana White said I got robbed. So, what are you gonna do? You can't cry about spilled milk. I got to move forward and get better and move on to the next fight. It happened. The judges didn't give me the win, and there's nothing really I can do about it. So yeah, I feel like I won, but I got to get back in there and get better and show them how it's done on the next fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Where are you training right now? Are you still training down in the arena, KJ?
Yeah, I'm down here in San Diego, and training with Jeff Clark down here in San Diego. So we're going to be bouncing around, hopefully get some different looks. And Pat Spate, Jeff Clark, should be good. Good camp. I like those guys. Did a lot of good work. And, yeah, I like it down here. It's where I live, so.
Okay.
KJ, there's been a lot of, just to go in a little bit of a different direction, there's been a lot of guys recently in MMA, especially over the last few years, they've all been going to higher level boxing gyms and boxing trainer. So you're a guy that's come from a pure boxing background. You're definitely an expert in this area. Why is it that only now guys are gravitating to these higher level boxing coaches? You see now with Mayweather's gym, Freddie Roach. What is it about the now that's different than the last few years? Why weren't guys doing this before?
It's probably just like, how these guys would search out the best jiu-jitsu guy or the best wrestler, and you got to be good at every aspect, every point of the game. So why not, get the best kickboxing coach or the best boxing coach, So I'm guessing that's just getting a little bit more of the spotlight now, than before. But it's just like anything else. You got to be the best at everything if you want to be the best in the sport. So I'm sure that guys are reaching out there for the best stand up, and just like the best wrestling and the best jiu-jitsu.
So like recently we saw that Freddie Roach is now working with Shogun, and one of the things on record that he said was that Shogun didn't know how to punch right. Now, this is a guy that's won titles in Pride, that is a former UFC champion. He's been in the top 10 for 6-7 years now. How is that a guy that has been a champion and has been a top 5, top 10 fighter for so many years? How is it that he can go so long and not know how to punch right, yet he's got so many knockouts and has always been highly touted as a great striker?
It's not boxing though. It's MMA. So you get a lot. There's a lot of things that you can get the basics of. Boxing. Maybe the basics of boxing is not the right punch correct, but like you said, he's knocked out so many great top fighters. It's not boxing. You can learn a lot of stuff from boxing and incorporate into your style, but what he does, or what he's done over his career has worked for him and been great, and it's been his style, it's the Muay Thai, it's, the wrestling, it's the everything, and you put that all together, it's 4-ounce gloves, so, it's not boxing, and he's been one of the best, fighters I've seen in the history of MMA, back when he won Pride, and, now he's, his UFC, so, yeah, you can get away with a lot, in MMA because there's so many, different weapons and like I said, the small gloves. So yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily going to help him better if he can maybe throw a right punch better. His style has worked for him great over the years.
Do you think that the boxing trainers that I've heard Mayweather say it, and you've heard Freddie Roach say it about mixed martial arts fighters, some of the guys that supposedly have the best boxing, do you think that they don't necessarily understand the mixed martial arts game, and that's why they look at these striking styles and they're like, these guys can't hit?
I don't know about that. I don't think the guys can't hit. I think a lot of guys can hit. Like I said, that there's so many different factors in MMA, compared to boxing. It's not boxing, but you can compare. If you want to, you can compare how it is to boxing, or you can, compare boxing how it is to MMA. It's just two different sports. They're sort of the same, but they're not. I think a lot of guys in MMA can compete. Maybe not at the top level of boxing, but they know boxing. You have to know boxing to be, at least competitive or good in MMA.
While we have the subject of boxing up, KJ, I have a question for you. If it was KJ Noon's UFC champion, or KJ Noon's boxing champion of the world instead of UFC champion, which one would you rather? Which accolade would you rather have, to be a boxing champion or a UFC champion?
Well, how much does the top UFC champion make? What would you say? How much does the top UFC champion make? You guys know. Just spit it out. What?
They make decent amount of money, but not on the level of boxers.
Oh no! How much? How much do you think? You got a General Park. You know. How much does a UFC fighter champ make?
A couple $100,000 for the lighter divisions.
All right. How much? All right. How much does a top boxer make?
Yeah, they're making 7 figures.
Pretty decent 7 figures.
Yeah.
So I enjoy both sports, man. I love them both. Either one would be great. I'll take either one.
Okay. Good answer. Fair answer. Do you ever wish that you would have continued on the trail with your boxing career as opposed to MMA, or are you happy right now where you're at with your career in combat sports?
No, I'm at my career in combat sports, and I love the way MMA is, taking, it's gotten so big over the years. It's great. People are loving the sport, and it's exciting, man. UFC has done such a great job in front of the sport and doing so much with the show. So I'm happy where I'm at. I really enjoy MMA, and I like it.
Okay. Now, I remember I've been following you for a long time, KJ, and I remember a while ago, this was several years ago, you weren't content with just being an MMA fighter. You wanted to pursue boxing, and it kind of in some ways inhibited your MMA career by not being able to sign an exclusive deal to just fight MMA. What has changed? What has changed now from the past?
Boxing, there's just a lot of politics, a lot of politics in boxing. And the good thing about MMA also, too, is that, you can fight on the undercard or not be the main event and be able to make, a decent living and be able to pay your bills and be able to train all year long. Whereas boxing, if you're not the main event, even if you are the main event or even a champ, until you start getting that pay-per-view hits as champ and as boxer, it's just tougher to make a living. Whereas that's kind of the upside I would think of MMA. Maybe the heavyweight champ doesn't make as much as, the top boxing pay-per-view guy, but the money's definitely spread throughout the whole card, so, guys can make a living.
Okay. Let me ask you this, KJ. Is the crowning moment of your career when you beat Nick Diaz in Elite XC?
I wouldn't say that's my crowning moment. Every fight I take, I train my butt off. So, every win, especially at this level, when you're fighting the top guys is a great moment for me. Compared to the top level, all these guys are so tough,
Mhm. Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Pedro. I was wondering this when you were talking about the difference in people's games and things like that. Do you really feel like that your jiu-jitsu and your ground game is severely underrated? Because people still to this day, even with all as many professional fights as you've had, and you've displayed your jiu-jitsu and your ground game in a lot of these fights, at least defensively for sure. And do you think that you're overlooked and you're underrated in that department?
I don't know about underrated. You can't really rate something that you've never seen. I just, I like to play defense, and, if I can use some type of offensive, submission or something for my advantage, I use it. But, I like to tend to keep the fight where I feel like I have the biggest advantage, and I feel like I have the better advantage when I fight fighters standing up, in the stand-up game. So that's kind of why I've always, stuck to that, and plus, for me, I feel like it's more exciting to be watching fighters stand up, and I think that's the majority of the people that watch MMA too.
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you. Go ahead, Pedro. Sorry, was just curious about that while we were on topic.
It's okay. We've seen you, KJ, a lot of knockouts, a lot of TKOs on your record, but, glancing over your record in your recent fights, you haven't knocked anybody out since Jorge Gurgel in 2010. I want to know, does that bother you, and how much are you itching to, just go out there and lay hands on somebody?
Getting a knockout is, the ultimate way to win, fight, but a lot of times if you're looking for the knockout, you also leave yourself open for different things, and, it's at this part of the game, you're fighting, when I signed up, I only want to fight the top-notch guys, top of the food chain. So, I'm not fighting any slouches, and it's tough, you're the top guys, these guys, train just as long as you. So, of course that's something that you go for, but you still have to, you gotta work for it. You can't always be looking for the knockout. It just you can get caught if you're doing that. So yeah, I would love that to happen. But you also leave yourself open for different stuff. So, you know, I'd rather just work for it, and if the opportunity opens itself, then yeah, I'll go for the knockout. But it's tough, man. Yeah, I wish I had more recently, but when you're competing at the top level, it's tough.
Okay. Now, do you think that after just taking what you just said right now, and after, like, let's say you're watching tape on your last few fights, do you see that something you can improve on? Because I mean, just from the outsider looking in, you are throwing heavy punches out there a lot of times. It seems like you do look for the knockout, you know, when you're fighting with these guys. And is that something that you're looking to change, or am I just assessing it wrong?
No. I mean, there's some opportunities I probably could take advantage of during fights, but you know, like I said, if you go for something, then you might be able to be taken advantage of. So I look back and I try to definitely get better at my cans and work on those things. So, you know, the ultimate goal is to win decisively every round, and eventually, you know, push an opponent to knock them out. But it's tough, you know, this at top of the division, and you know, all I can do is get better, you know, during the camps, and hopefully, you know, get that outcome after the fight.
Okay, excellent. So let's go back full circle. Let's get back onto Donald Cerrone a little bit. What are your thoughts on this guy, and how do you see this fight playing out?
You know, I think stylistically it's going to be a great fight. I think he's a really good fighter. You know, he's one of their top fighters at the UFC, and I'm excited. I'm excited for the challenge, and you know, he's just good all around. And we'll see. We're going to work really hard in the camp and see what we can expose, you know, on him and be able to take advantage and get the win. Hopefully a knockout.
Okay. Do you see the fight taking place on its feet? Because, I mean, this guy, he has a really flashy kind of nice style of Muay Thai, kickboxing, and you're primarily boxer. So would you like to go ahead and go out there and trade? Is that your like instinctual, in your mind, game plan going forward?
Are you breaking up a little bit? To do what with him?
Oh, do you anticipate a stand-up fight with Donald?
I mean, pretty much all my fights are stand-up, you know, so we'll see. I definitely want to put it where it's my biggest advantage. You know, a lot of people say boxing. You know, I've had, I think, 14 pro boxing fights, but I've also had, I think, 15 pro Muay Thai and kickboxing fights. I won my first pro amateur, you know, intercontinental world title or an intercontinental title of Muay Thai when I was 17. You know, I've been doing Muay Thai for a long time. I just had a lot of injuries, you know, broken foots, you know, and some bad injuries where I haven't been able to kick lately. But I would consider myself, you know, a pretty decent kicker, you know, having a good background. So yeah, I mean, anything. I mean, but for my camps, it's not like I just train to just do boxing and just kickboxing all the time. If anything, I'm trained for all the other stuff more than that, you know, the grappling, the takedowns, the takedown defense, the submissions, you know. In the perfect world for me, I just love to just work boxing and kickboxing all day long. And hopefully that would play out for the fight, but that's usually not the case.
Okay. Let me ask you this, KJ. I don't remember when it was. This was like probably 7 or 8 years ago. You won the Pride Fighting Championships, like the Best Striker audition or something of that nature. I want to know what was that whole series like for you, and being crowned that, given that accolade. What was that like for you?
Oh man, it was excellent. I think it was about 9 years ago. I think maybe 8-9 years ago. You know, Pride was, you know, the biggest organization. They were bigger than, you know, UFC at the time, and they was just starting to come around. And I had won by accident. I just went up there to, you know, to visit some friends in LA, and I just entered for fun, and I won Best Striker. And then all of a sudden, I was signed with Pride. I didn't even know what Pride was. You know, I just come from kickboxing and boxing, and it was cool, man. You know, I got to learn under Matt Hume. When they flew me to Seattle, I lived up there. I learned, you know, the whole MMA game. You know, my first training partner ever was Sakurai. And, you know, I lived with him. We trained for months. And I really, you know, got to learn the game. And, you know, I had a few fights under the Pride banner, and then they're like, all right, now go to Japan and fight Gomi. And I was like, I was more educated by then. I was like, I only have 3 fights. He's pretty good. You know, he was a world champ at the time. Like, I think I'm going to just get a little bit better at this MMA thing. And so, you know, I just concentrate on a few boxing, keep boxing, work on MMA, and then, you know, kind of come full circle. Now here I am 9 years later, you know, in the UFC. So, yeah, it was a cool experience, man.
Yeah, what an interesting story. So winning that, getting named best striker, that pretty much set you on your MMA path, if I'm understanding that right. Is that correct?
I'm have terrible service. I just have terrible phone service. But what was that?
I said that's a real interesting story. The winning the best striker from those Pride auditions, that pretty much set you on your MMA path and kind of changed your life, if I'm understanding that right. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. You know, it's just funny how things come in your life. It was, you know, by accident. All of a sudden I was doing MMA, and, you know, now here I am, you know, be able to make a living, pay my bills, and, you know, now I'm setting stage here on one of the biggest organizations. You know, UFC gets a fight here to come this summer, so I'm really excited. You know, it's definitely been a blessing.
Amazing. All right, KJ. I won't take up too much more of your time today. I want to know one thing real quick. Who you're picking in the main event? You fought Nick Diaz before. You fought him twice. Do you think he has what it takes to take out GSP this weekend?
I think he has what it takes to win, but I think GSP is just too dominant on the ground. Just a bigger, stronger, just he's going to dominate on the ground. It's just going to be so hard for him to get up or really do anything, you know. Even if you have good jiu-jitsu, a guy that's dominant, it's going to be tough. So it's going to be a tough one. I'm going to have to say GSP's going to take that one, even though we all want to see Nick talk a bunch of shit and beat up GSP. You know, it'd be fun, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay. Excellent. All right, KJ. Well, best of luck in your preparation for your fight. Hopefully we'll be able to get you on one more time before fight night. And take care of that cold, man. Get better, and thanks for coming on.
All right, guys. You guys have a good night. Take care.
All right, you too. Thanks. Mr. Matthews.
That was KJ. You know, he sounds a little bit under the weather there. You know, I felt almost bad dragging him through the long line of questions there. But
he did good. He did good. You know, before we got on the air, we were talking about. I mean, I've been working with KJ for a number of years now, and I've never even heard him so talkative. I was really surprised. He really came out and he was giving like in-depth responses, and I was pretty surprised. I thought we might have to pull some teeth.
Yes, well, especially he does. You know, he really sounds under the weather there, but he's about to have one of the biggest fights of his career. I mean, definitely. You know, this is a big fight. UFC debut, and Donald Cerrone. You know, despite the knockout loss to Pettis, you know, don't sleep on Donald Cerrone. That's going to be a tough fight. You know, Cerrone's going to come in there ready to bang. You know, that guy fights. You know, he fights and wants to go out on a shield. You know, he typically doesn't give a shit. So I think that's going to make for a good fight stylistically. That's going to make for possibly fight of the night. I mean, those guys they can put on a war. You know, KJ doesn't go away easy. And before, you know, Cerrone went down to Pettis with that kick, you know, most people would say Cerrone is in it for the, you know, from bell to bell also. I mean, he had a war with Nate Diaz. You know, they're both pretty battle tested. I think it's going to be a great fight, and, you know, KJ can bring a lot of excitement to that division. You know, he's been on the end of a couple of really tough decision losses recently, and I think that people forget that this guy is, you know, he blasted Nick Diaz. You know, he's blasted a bunch of guys. He's hurt a lot of guys. He went 5 rounds with Nick Diaz after that, and he you know, he was still tagging Diaz throughout that fight. So it's definitely, you know, he's a tough guy, and it's going to be a good fight. Definitely going to be a good fight.
Yeah. You know, I've always been a fan of KJ, and what I found interesting, and I wish we had more time to talk to him, but we kind of jammed through these guests, within 30 minutes or under 30 minutes. But that whole thing where he was discussing how he won the Best Striking Pride Trophy, and that really set him on his MMA path. I mean, I think that's a big story that's kind of passed up by a lot of people. I thought that was really cool. I would have liked to talk to him more about that. Saying his first MMA sparring partner in his life was Sakurai. I mean, the guy has a story. It's pretty cool.
That was actually very interesting. The fact that he was asked to fight Gomi. KJ is still very young in his MMA career now, and it's 2013. The fact that they wanted him to fight Gomi back then is insane. Gomi is doing well in fights now, let alone back then. He was, one of the best in the world at that time, if not was the best in the world at that weight class during that time. So, the whole story is very interesting, and it kind of brings you back to a time, when Pride and the UFC, and it's crazy to see how many guys almost went that direction, and how everything does come full circle.
Yeah. Okay. So far, so good tonight, huh?
Not very, very good, and we still have Ben Askren to go, and